All right, welcome back to the Elias Makos Show. The Quebec Conservative Party still looking for a seat in the National Assembly. This, of course, after losing the Arthabaska by-election last month. Let's go to Eric Duhaime, the leader of the Conservative Party Quebec, who was running in that riding. He joins us on the line. Mr. Duhaime, Eric, thanks for coming back to the show.
Always a pleasure, Elias.
It must have been a crushing defeat because it wasn't particularly close, 46% to 35. I know you felt like you really had a chance. This was your chance to get into the National Assembly. How are you bouncing back from this one?
Well, look, we obviously we were disappointed. We were hoping to do better, but if when you look at it 3 weeks later, and then now that the dust is settling, you see that we still grew. Like we went in 2018, we're at 2% in Arthabaska, 24% in the last election, and 35% 3 weeks ago. At the beginning of the campaign, we thought we needed 11,000 votes to win by-election. The Parti Québécois just won an election in Terrebonne with 10,000 votes, with more than 50% of the votes. And we thought 11,000 was good. We did 13,000 and we still lost. What happened is that all the other parties voted Parti Québécois, and that's something very surprising. It might be, especially for Anglo-Quebecers, to understand that dynamic. But the three other parties completely collapsed, and all their votes went to the Parti Québécois. Québec Solidaire went from 9% to 1%. The CAQ went from 52% to 7%. And even the Liberals that were polling at 15% a week before the vote ended up with 9%. So we saw the opposite of what we saw at the federal level. It's at the federal level, we saw some Parti Québécois supporters voting for the Liberals in Ottawa for Mark Carney to make sure the Conservatives were not winning. Now we saw the opposite in Arthabaska. Many Liberals, Federalists, who voted for the Parti Québécois to make sure that the Conservatives were not elected because they were scared of change.
But this is the thing, Eric. This is what I'm wondering about, because you say it's the opposite. I say it's the same thing. In both cases, it's voters coming together because they fear that word conservative. So I'm wondering if you're worried that voters, no matter what, whether it's federally or provincially, they're so afraid of your party, or a big portion of Quebecers are so afraid of their party, they will go and park their vote anywhere to make sure your party doesn't get into the National Assembly.
But still, we still went up by 11%, even with that context. And the other thing is, it's going to be more difficult in a general election to do that kind of thing. But you're right. It's something that we need to understand. How come some people who say they're Federalists are voting for the Parti Québécois? And what we understand, Elias, is that they're scared of change. It's the coalition of status quo. They don't want to downsize the size of the state. They don't want to cut taxes. They don't want to have competition with add the private sector in healthcare. They don't want that. Like, they're really, really scared of the changes that are proposing the Conservatives, and that's why we need to explain better our policies, especially among people who are much older, because in Arthabaska what we also saw is that we did very, very well with people under 60, and it was much more difficult after that. And so we as a party, we have an obligation to better explain our policies and make sure that those people don't feel afraid as they are right now.
Do you think that especially that older voter is worried that a party like yours would just come in and slash social programs, slash their health care, their retirement stuff? Do you think that's what's going on here? There's a bit of fear from that group?
There is, and it's kind of a paradox, because on one hand, when you ask them if the Quebec model is broken, they say yes. They understand that it doesn't work, that we can't do like we're doing right now with hospitals. It's going to cost us $1.2 billion in extra fees for the hospitals in Quebec currently. They see SACLIC with $1.1 billion for a website. They see what happened with Northvolt, where we lost $500 million in the last week. I mean, all those stories that I'm talking about is just over the last 3 days. And they see that, they understand that the Quebec model is broken, but when it's time to fix it, they're scared of what we need to do to fix it. But we'll have to do it one day or the other, and for us as Conservatives, the sooner the better. And that's what we're telling them. Like, you have to stop being worried. There is a problem. We need to fix it. We can't say mañana, tomorrow we'll fix it, and let's wait another generation. It needs to be done now. We can't have a deficit of $13.6 billion every single year. We're going to hit the wall. We need to wake up now, and it's tough to have that message. And many people, they feel more comfy with the status quo.
So let me ask you this about and this goes to the question of getting into the National Assembly. We're with Eric Duhaime, who's leader of the Conservative Party of Quebec. You know the CAQ right now. The polling shows that next year will be a disaster for them. They could lose all their seats. Okay, you've got a large group of MNAs who are part of the CAQ, who also wanted to change the way we do things in Quebec 7 years ago. Nothing's happened. It seems to me like the fastest way now for you to get into the National Assembly is you should be trying to get some of these disaffected CAQers who know that their party has failed in their mission. Why have you not been able to convince some of them to jump ship? Because it seems like there's a lot of crossover in what you believe and what some members of the CAQ believe.
Well, as we speak, it's not organized, but I'm going to have a breaking news for you because I just saw it appearing on my cell phone. But there's a new MNA who's just been kicked out of the caucus of the CAQ right now, Pierre Dufour in Abitibi. And it's exactly what you're talking about. Like, there's dissatisfaction, and they see that there's problems there. And how come we're not attracting those guys? Well, first off, we're not in a coalition of opportunists. I mean, I'm not interested to get people just to have someone in the National Assembly. We need to make sure we have people who agree with our policies and our principles and our ideas, because that's what politics is all about. It's not just about ourselves. It's about, having common interests and ideas together. And and there's going to be an election in a year. So it's not, the idea is to make sure that we present our ideas. We have a program, a platform that is sustainable, and that's my priority. And we have 125 candidates in every constituency, because the National Assembly is not going to sit that much between now and the election. And the focus from now on will be the election. But the people who are mad and furious because François Legault is not going to give them a job of minister in the next shuffle next week, well, if those people, that's their only reason to join the Conservative Party, they're not welcome in my party.
Let me ask you something, though, on Pierre Dufour, that you're telling me this, and I'm seeing the stories now about him. Are you saying you'd be chasing him to join your party?
Well, I'm going to talk to him to see what's going on, if he shares our policies, if he's serious, because internally there's ideas that he can't stand with, or what's going on with the CAQ, what's happening right now. But if it's just about himself and because François Legault didn't choose him to be a minister, it's not for a good reason.
Gotcha.
We have to see what's going on with him. But it shows that you were right when you said initially that it's fracking from everywhere. And there's something going on right now with the dissatisfaction within the CAQ. The people are leaving right and left right now.
So let me ask you this: there's going to be a by-election, right? Andre Laforêt is leaving. So there's going to be a by-election in Chicoutimi sometime. He's got 6 months to call it. Maybe he wants to call it sooner than later to get it out of the way, because it'll be another loss for the CAQ. So Are you going to run again?
As I said yesterday, I'm not. It's not. The idea from now on, you have to understand that becoming a member of the National Assembly is less and less attractive, because it means that you're not going to sit for very long, if you're going to sit at all. Mm-hmm. Because think about it: if he's waiting for 6 months to call the election, then the election is held. How many days are they going to sit in the National Assembly? I mean, it's ridiculous. I understand that they have to do it legally, but it's going to cost a fortune, and it's not going to give huge results. From now on, my focus should be to have 125 good candidates and a good platform to propose a new model to Quebecers. We can't stand the bureaucratic and the statist model that we have right now, and we need to move on. And just look what's going to happen in the next few hours in Ottawa. Carney, the Prime Minister, is going to announce that he's not going to forbid people from buying gas cars. And the mandate is going to be lifted, and Quebec is going to be the only province in Canada and the only state in North America that's going to have a mandate to forbid consumers, car drivers, to buy cars with gas. This is ridiculous, and we're the only party. We've been saying that for years. We even have a slogan, Mon char, mon choix. They were all laughing at us. And now everybody's looking at us saying, "Oh well, maybe the Conservatives were right."
Carney's going to do what people laughed at you over. That's an interesting point. Okay, Eric, listen, I got to leave it there. Thanks for coming on.
It's always a pleasure, Elias.
And we'll talk soon. Okay.
Thank you very much. Merci. Au revoir.
Au revoir. That's Eric Duhaime, leader of the Conservative Party of Quebec.